Welcome. Take a moment. If you're listening right now, chances are you've been bending more than you admit. There's a familiar feeling that shows up quietly. After work, late at night, when the house finally settles, you replay a conversation, something you agreed to, something you tolerated, and a question lingers longer than it should. Why do I keep lowering myself just to keep the peace? Maybe you've told yourself it's maturity. Maybe you've called it being easygoing. But deep down, you know the truth. Each time you bend something in, you tightens. Not loudly, just enough to notice. And then one day, a small moment arrives. Nothing dramatic. A simple request. A quiet expectation. And for the first time, you don't move to accommodate it. You pause. Not because you're angry. Not because you want to prove anything, but because you finally feel the cost of bending. That moment matters more than you think, because it's not about saying no. It's about choosing who you are becoming. Tonight, we're going to sit with that moment. Not to judge it, not to rush past it, but to understand what it's trying to teach you. That moment stays with you because it reveals something uncomfortable. You didn't bend out of kindness. You bent out of habit. Most people never notice when it starts. It looks harmless at first. You stay quiet in a meeting when a line is crossed. You answer a message you don't have the energy for. You say it's fine when it isn't. You tell yourself it's not worth the friction, and nothing bad happens right away. That's the trap. What changes is subtle. Your shoulders tighten. Your jaw clenches when you drive home. You replay the moment in the shower, thinking of what you should have said. Not to win, just to feel whole again. Lowering yourself never works, because the world doesn't read intention. It reads behavior. When you step aside every time people don't see generosity, they see availability. They see flexibility without limit. They learn quietly what they can take. And the cost isn't just how others treat you. The real cost is what happens inside. Each time you ignore your own line, you teach yourself a lesson. You teach yourself that your discomfort comes second, that your values are negotiable, that peace is something you earn by shrinking. Over time, that lesson hardens. You stop trusting your own instincts. You hesitate before speaking. You wait for permission that never comes. This is where Stoicism speaks not loudly, but clearly. The Stoics understood that dignity isn't something others grant you. It's something you practice. They believed character is shaped in ordinary moments, not heroic ones. Especially the moments no one applauds. there's a quiet principle at work here. What you tolerate becomes the standard, not just for others, for yourself. When you repeatedly lower your standards to keep the peace, you aren't protecting harmony. You're trading it. You're trading long-term self-respect for short-term relief. And relief is deceptive. It feels good for a minute. Then it asks for more. This isn't about being rigid or cold. It's about alignment. When your actions drift too far from your values, tension shows up. Not as anger, as fatigue, as resentment, as that dull sense that you're living slightly off-center. Stoicism doesn't ask you to confront every slight. It asks you something harder, to stop abandoning yourself. There's a difference between patience and self-erasure, between choosing your battles and losing your ground. The Stoic path isn't about pleasing people or pushing them away. It's about standing where you are without apology. When you lower yourself, you send a message you never intended. You tell the world and your own nervous system that your boundaries are flexible under pressure. That message always comes back louder. Respect, real respect, grows in stillness. It grows when your words and actions match, when you don't over-explain, when you don't rush to smooth things over at your own expense. Lowering yourself never works because it builds a life that requires constant adjustment, and no one can stay upright while always bending. The strength you're looking for doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from standing still long enough to feel where your line truly is. Standing still long enough to feel your line is when the real conflict begins. Because the moment you stop bending something inside you pushes back, not from the outside, from within. One voice is familiar. It sounds reasonable. It says, just let it go. It's not worth the tension. Be the bigger person. It reminds you of the bills, the relationships, the history you don't want to disturb. It speaks in the language of comfort. The other voice is quieter. It doesn't argue. It doesn't rush. It just sits there, heavy in your chest. A sense that something is off, that you're being asked to trade more than you should. You feel it when you're about to type a reply you don't mean, when you nod even though your stomach tightens, when you agree to stay late again knowing you'll pay for it later. That pause isn't weakness, it's awareness. This is the conflict no one sees. From the outside, nothing looks dramatic. You're calm, you're polite, you're doing what's expected. But inside, there's friction. Two loyalties pulling in opposite directions. One loyalty is to comfort, to being liked, to keeping things smooth. The other loyalty is to yourself, to the part of you that knows where your line is, even if you've ignored it before. Stoicism doesn't deny this conflict. It takes it seriously. The Stoics believed that every moment like this is a test of alignment. Not alignment with other people, alignment with your own values. They understood something most people miss. Peace doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from choosing the right kind of discomfort. There is the discomfort of speaking up, and the deeper discomfort of staying silent when you shouldn't. There is the discomfort of disappointing someone, and the lasting discomfort of disappointing yourself. You can feel the difference in your body. One fades after the moment passes. The other follows you home. This is where many people get confused. They think Stoicism means suppressing emotion, but what it actually asks is restraint with purpose. Restraint is not numbness, it's control. When you notice the urge to explain yourself too much, that's a signal. When you feel the impulse to smooth things over at your own expense, that's a signal. These reactions aren't flaws. They're habits formed under pressure. Stoicism teaches you to insert a space right there, between the feeling and the action. In that space, you ask a different question. Not, how do I keep this comfortable? But what kind of person does this choice turn me into? That question changes everything. It shifts the focus from the outcome to the character being built, from winning approval to keeping integrity, from reacting to choosing. This inner conflict never fully disappears, and it's not supposed to. It's the place where growth happens. Each time you choose alignment over ease, something steadies inside you. You trust yourself a little more. You second guess a little less. And slowly, without announcement, your presence changes. You're not louder, you're not harder, you're clearer. That clarity is what the world responds to, not force, not explanation, just quiet consistency. The conflict you feel isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're finally paying attention. That clarity you're starting to feel can be unsettling because it forces a distinction most people never make. Self-respect is not ego. Ego is loud. It needs witnesses. It flares up when it feels challenged. It wants to win, to dominate, to be right. Self-respect is quieter. It doesn't argue. It doesn't announce itself. It simply refuses to step out of alignment. You can feel the difference in the moment. Ego tightens your chest and speeds up your words. Self-respect slows you down. It steadies your breathing. It keeps your voice even. Think about a time you spoke up and immediately felt the urge to justify yourself. You added extra sentences. You softened the edges. You tried to make sure no one felt uncomfortable with your decision. That wasn't confidence. That was fear wearing a polite mask. Ego reacts because it's fragile. It depends on how it's received. Self-respect acts because it's grounded. It doesn't wait for approval. The Stoics were very precise about this, even if they didn't use modern language. They warned against pride, but they never asked you to live without dignity. In fact, they saw dignity as a responsibility. To them, the question was never, "How do I look?" It was, "Am I acting in accordance with my principles?" That shift matters. Ego asks, "Did I win?" Self-respect asks, "Did I act rightly?" There's a familiar scene that plays out for many people. A disagreement at work, a boundary in a relationship, a moment when you decide not to go along with something that feels wrong. If ego is driving you feel the need to explain everything, you want the other person to understand, to agree to validate you. If they don't, you feel irritated or defensive. If self-respect is driving you, say less. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. You don't owe a performance to anyone. Stoicism teaches that your worth isn't something to be negotiated in real time. It's something you establish long before the moment arrives through consistent behavior. This is where many people get lost. They think standing up for themselves means pushing back harder, raising their voice, drawing a line with force. But force is often just ego in motion. Self-respect doesn't need force. It relies on follow-through. You say what you mean once. You act accordingly. And you let the outcome be what it is. That takes restraint. And restraint is strength. The Stoics believed the highest form of power was self-command, the ability to govern your reactions, to remain steady when you're misunderstood, to walk away without needing the last word. This doesn't make you passive. It makes you deliberate. When you stop confusing ego with self-respect, your choices change. You stop reacting to every provocation. You stop correcting every misunderstanding. You stop trying to manage how others see you. Instead, you manage what you do, and something surprising happens. The people who relied on your flexibility feel uncomfortable. The people who respect boundaries adjust, and you feel lighter, not heavier. Because self-respect isn't about elevating yourself above others. It's about refusing to step beneath yourself. That's not pride, that's integrity. And once you experience that difference, you don't need to prove it, you live it. Living with integrity doesn't announce itself in big moments. It shows up quietly right where you're tempted to react. This is where the choice appears, not the kind people notice, the kind that happens in a breath, a pause before a reply, a decision not to explain, a calm refusal to chase agreement. You can feel it when it arrives. Your body wants to move fast, to fix, to smooth, to defend. But something steadier holds you in place. Maybe it's standing in your kitchen, phone in hand, reading a message that expects too much. Maybe it's sitting in a meeting where a comment crosses a line and all eyes move on. Maybe it's a family conversation that quietly pressures you to be someone you're not anymore. The quiet choice doesn't look impressive. It doesn't earn applause. Sometimes it doesn't even feel good. It simply asks one question: what am I willing to live with after this moment passes? Stoicism doesn't demand confrontation. It doesn't demand silence either. It demands discernment. There are times when speaking is the right action. Clear, direct, brief, and then you stop. There are times when walking away says more than words ever could. No drama, no punishment, just distance. And there are times when you stay. Not because it's comfortable, but because leaving would cost you something more important. The mistake many people make is turning this into a rule. Always speak up. Always stay quiet. Always walk away. Stoicism rejects that simplicity. It teaches you to choose based on principle, not impulse. Principle sounds abstract until you feel it in your body. That sense of steadiness when your action matches your values. That lack of regret the next morning. This is where self-command matters. The Stoics believed you don't control outcomes. You control conduct. You don't control how someone responds to your boundary. You control whether you set it with clarity or resentment. You don't control whether someone understands you. You control whether you betray yourself trying to be understood. The quiet choice is often the harder one because it denies your ego its reward. No victory, no validation, no release, just consistency. You act once. You mean what you say. You follow through. And then you let go of the rest. There's a particular strength in that. The strength to disappoint without becoming bitter. The strength to stand firm without becoming rigid. The strength to move on without needing closure. People who live this way don't waste energy managing reactions. They conserve it. They understand that every unnecessary argument, every over-explanation, every forced compromise drains something finite. So they choose carefully. Not every battle deserves their presence. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Not every expectation deserves compliance. This isn't indifference. It's economy. When you choose quietly, you preserve what matters. Your attention, your time, your inner balance. And over time, this choice compounds. You become someone whose no is clean, whose yes is intentional, whose presence doesn't fluctuate with pressure. The quiet choice won't make your life easier overnight, but it will make it simpler. And simplicity, when it's rooted in principle, becomes strength. Simplicity becomes strength when it's practiced, not admired. Because not bending isn't a personality trait. It's a discipline. It doesn't arrive fully formed. It's built in small repetitions, usually when no one is watching, especially when it would be easier to slide back into old habits. Discipline shows up in the morning before the day asks anything of you, in how you set your schedule, in how you decide what deserves your energy, in how you prepare yourself to meet pressure without folding. You begin to notice the moments where bending used to be automatic, a request that assumes your availability, a comment that tests your patience, an expectation that quietly ignores your limits. Nothing dramatic happens. Your heart rate picks up just enough to notice. Your mind starts offering shortcuts. It's faster if I just agree. I'll deal with it later. It's not a big deal. This is where discipline lives. The Stoics believed that freedom comes from training your responses, not eliminating desire. They didn't expect calm to appear on demand. They expected it to be practiced under pressure. So the discipline of not bending starts with a pause, not a long one, just long enough to interrupt the reflex. You take a breath. You feel your feet on the ground. You let the urge to react crest and pass. Then you ask a simple question. Will this choice make tomorrow harder or cleaner? That question cuts through noise. Sometimes the answer leads you to speak. Briefly, without decoration. You say what needs to be said once and you stop. Sometimes it leads you to decline, not with excuses, not with apologies, just a clear no delivered without heat. And sometimes it leads you to do nothing at all. To let silence carry the message, to trust that you don't need to manage every outcome. This isn't passivity, it's restraint with direction. Discipline also shows up after the moment passes, when doubt tries to creep in, when you replay the scene and wonder if you were too firm, too distant, too much. This is where many people break. They reach back. They explain. They soften the line they just drew. The discipline is in not undoing yourself. You let the discomfort stand. You let others adjust. You let the situation settle without interference. That's hard, especially in a culture that rewards immediacy and reassurance. But over time, something shifts. You begin to trust your decisions because you've seen yourself follow through. Your no becomes cleaner because it's rare. Your yes carries weight because it's chosen. The Stoics understood this compounding effect. They believed character is built the same way strength is built, through resistance applied consistently. You don't become steady by avoiding pressure. You become steady by meeting it without collapse. The discipline of not bending doesn't make you rigid. It makes you reliable to yourself first. And that reliability changes how you move through the world. You listen more carefully. You respond more slowly. You choose with less drama. You stop living in reaction mode. You start living in alignment. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped leaking energy. This discipline doesn't demand perfection, only attention, and the willingness to practice again tomorrow. That's how not bending becomes natural, not as a rule, but as a way of being. When you practice this long enough, something changes beneath the surface. Not in a way that's obvious to others. In a way that's unmistakable to you. You wake up with less noise in your head. Decisions don't drag on as long. You move through the day with fewer internal negotiations. It's not confidence in the loud sense, it's steadiness. You notice it when something goes wrong and your first impulse isn't panic. When a comment misses its mark and you don't feel the need to correct it. When plans change and you adjust without resentment. What's being built is trust, self-trust. Each time you don't bend, you leave evidence for yourself, evidence that you can hold a line, that you can tolerate discomfort without unraveling, that you don't need approval to remain intact. The Stoics believed this kind of trust was the foundation of freedom, not freedom from responsibility, freedom from inner chaos. When your actions align with your values, you stop arguing with yourself. And when that argument ends, energy returns. You spend less time replaying conversations, less time wondering how you came across, less time carrying the emotional weight of choices you didn't mean to make. This is what inner strength actually feels like. Not adrenaline, not bravado, but a quiet reduction in friction. You also begin to see people more clearly. Some drift away when you stop overextending. Not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped compensating for who they weren't. Others adjust. They meet you where you stand. They respect what's consistent. Neither outcome needs your management. This clarity brings humility with it. You stop needing to be right all the time. You stop keeping score. You don't need to prove that you've grown. You just act from a different center. Stoicism teaches that character isn't something you display. It's something you carry. And carrying it changes how you respond to pressure. You don't harden. You don't withdraw. You become less reactive. There's a subtle strength in that, the kind people feel before they can explain it. You listen without absorbing. You care without collapsing. You stay engaged without losing yourself. This doesn't make life painless. It makes pain cleaner. When something hurts, it hurts once, not repeatedly through regret and self-betrayal. You begin to understand why the Stoics valued calm so highly. Not because calm feels good, but because it allows clear action. From that place, your choices gain weight. Your words mean more because you use fewer of them. Your commitments matter because they're deliberate. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't rush to fix what isn't yours. You don't rush to explain who you are. And slowly, you stop measuring yourself against reactions. You measure yourself against a simpler standard. Did I act in a way I can live with? That question becomes enough. What this builds inside you isn't distance from others. It's closeness to yourself. A sense of being at home in your own decisions, of standing upright without tension, of moving forward without dragging parts of yourself behind. That's the quiet reward of not bending. Not praise, not recognition, but the feeling that wherever you go next, you go there whole. That sense of being whole is what brings everything into focus. You don't need to lower yourself to keep your place in the world. You never did. The pressure to bend was never proof of your weakness. It was proof that you cared, that you wanted things to work, that you valued connection. There's nothing wrong with that. What needed to change wasn't your heart. It was the direction you pointed it. Stoicism doesn't ask you to become less human. It asks you to become more grounded, to stop confusing sacrifice with virtue, to stop mistaking endurance for loyalty. The lesson underneath all of this is simple, even if it takes a lifetime to live. You are responsible for the kind of person you become, not for how others respond to it When you stop lowering yourself, the world doesn't suddenly get kinder. Some doors close. Some people step back. Some misunderstandings never resolve. But something far more important stabilizes. You begin to move with fewer internal conflicts. Your decisions stop contradicting each other. Your words carry the weight of consistency. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. The Stoics believed that a good life isn't measured by comfort or applause. It's measured by whether you can stand by your actions when the noise fades, whether you can sit quietly at the end of the day and feel at peace with how you showed up. You don't need to win every exchange. You don't need to be understood by everyone. You don't need to smooth over every rough edge. You need to be able to look at your own life and recognize yourself in it. That's what not bending gives you. Not control over others. Control over yourself. It gives you the freedom to say yes without resentment, to say no without guilt, to walk away without bitterness, to stay without self-erasure. And over time, this way of living becomes natural, not because the world stopped testing you, but because you stopped abandoning yourself under pressure. If you're listening to this right now, there's a good chance you're standing at one of those quiet crossroads, a place where no one is forcing you either way, where the decision feels small, but the direction matters. You don't need to rush it. You don't need to make a statement. You just need to choose in a way you can live with tomorrow. That's the Stoic path, not dramatic, not loud, built step by step. May you trust yourself enough to hold your line. May you have the patience to choose integrity over ease, and may you remember that dignity isn't something you ask for. It's something you practice. If this reflection stayed with you, let it settle. Carry it into the next quiet moment that asks something of you. And if you want to keep walking this path slowly and deliberately, you're welcome to stay here. No pressure, no bending, just the next right step taken calmly.